The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Guys, please confirm to me. All of you get my voice on the screen. Those are attending in online. Guys, please confirm to me. All of you get my voice on the screen. Those are attending in online. Guys, please confirm to me. All of you get my voice on the screen. Those are attending in online. Is my voice is clear to all of you guys? Guys, and please confirm to me. All of you get my voice on the screen. Those are attending in online. Is my voice is clear to all of you? Right. So in the last session where we are, no, actually what we are discussing actually. In the last session, we understood clearly HttpSession session tracking mechanism part we understood, and we started programming part, right? So programming part also we started there. Then what exactly the programming part can we understood clearly, right? Right, sir. In HttpSession session track mechanism, we started programming also. But before going to start our programming part, then what exactly the content here we are going to understand. That let me explain that once again. So in the case of HttpSession session track mechanism, when we submit a request, first request from client to the server side application, that means first servlet, the servlet has to check with respect to this particular user, any HTTP session object is existed or not. If it is existed already, then get that HTTP session object. If it is not existed, then create new HTTP session object. Good. After getting or creating new HTTP session object, get a data from request object and keep the data in HTTP session object. Then after keeping the data in HTTP session object, then the data will be available for our future request processing also with respect to the same user. Then forward request to the another form. Then again in form2.html also some fields are available. Enter the data, click on next button and submit request to the servlet 2. In the servlet 2, then what we have to do? Again we have to do the same process. Either we have to check I think we have to check whether any HTTP session object is existed or not. If it is already existed, get that HTTP session object. Already existed, then get that HTTP session object. Keep that present request data into this HTTP session object. Then forward request to the another form, form3.html. Then here what we have to do, form3.html is available. There also we fill the data and click on display button. Then submit request to the display servlet. When request is submitted to the display servlet now, then what display servlet has to do? Again the same process. It has to get that exist HTTP session object with respect to that user and get data from the request object and keep the data in HTTP session object. And after that, if you want to get all the data from HTTP session object, that is, if you want to get all previous request data at the time of processing third request, then get the data from HTTP session object. Or else, if you don't want to get it, and again you want to continue the same process again and again in the next level also, then keep the data in HTTP session object and move forward. But here, display servlet intention is just I want to get data from HTTP session and I want to display the data. So get that data from HTTP session and display the data on the browser. Now this is overall idea. Okay, good. Then already we started some programming part regarding that. Already we started that. Then previously I started this Eclipse idea and we prepared up to some part of the application. We completed there in the last class. No. Now here we are going to see again the remaining part of the application. I am going to complete it now. Let us check this. Right. So now let us wait for getting that Eclipse ID. Wait for it. Okay. Once this Eclipse ID is coming there we can start our content. Just wait for that. Right, sir. Now it was open. Now this is like what no previous application. I think almost all we completed even. First sublet also we completed there. If you observe this form1.html we completed, and form2.html also we completed. Yeah, form1.html we completed, form2.html also we completed. Then after that, form3.html also we completed. Next one is like what no? First sublet we completed. Okay. In first sublet, just we got the data from request object. We got HTTP session object here. After getting HTTP session object, no, then what next one here we have to do? After getting HTTP session object, next one is keep the data into the HTTP session object. Then after that, now prepare request to dispatcher object and send the data to like what no, or forward that request to do form2.html. That's okay. That's what we have done. Okay. Similarly, I have to prepare servlet 2. I have to prepare servlet 2. Now let me prepare the servlet 2 also here. Right. Now session app1, that what we created. Here I created servlets. Right click on it. New. Here we have to go for servlet. Now inside this, then what we have to do? Class name. Second servlet. I want to prepare that name. Second servlet. Or servlet 2 or second servlet, whatever it may be. And click on next button. URL pattern I want to take like what now? Second slash second. Why? Because in form2.html also I might be providing the same URL pattern. Click on next button. Do post method. I think so. We have used post request in all the forms here. Do post method we required, and click on finish button. Okay. Now this is second servlet. Then for our confirmation point of view, in a form2.html, form method is good, post action is good, dot slash second. So URL pattern for the servlet is also like what now? Second. That's okay. That's what we are getting. Good. Then after that, after completion of this particular one, what next one here? I am telling you clearly. After understanding that, now here inside this, then what I am telling here clearly. The next one is like I need to provide implementation part for this. How we are able to provide implementation part for this? Try to recognize this. Try to recognize this, and how we are able to provide implementation part for this. Right. So here, first of all, as a first step, what I have to do now, as a first step, here I need to get data. I have to get data from request object first. What data is available here? What data here we are able to get from request object? Let's observe this clearly. What data here we have to get? If you want to know the details, no, here what we have to do there, we have to come here. We have to come like diagram. In form2.html, ECL and EADDL. So ECL, well, I want to get in the form of float. So here we are getting like what no ECL, and this is like what no EADDL. The data here we want to get. Okay. Now let me take the path here. Let me take this try and catch. Then inside this catch block, e dot print stack trace method. We are getting now inside this try block. Then what we have to get now? Inside the try block, we have to get directly float ECL is equal to float dot parse float of here what we have to get there request dot get a parameter of ECL salary value here we are getting. That's okay. Next one is after getting the salary value, then what next one you know? EADDR, employee address. Employee address is a string type directly, we can get it now. String EADDR is equal to request dot get a parameter of, here we have to provide like what no, EADDR, the data here we have to provide. That's okay, fine. So here what we are getting here, two data here we are getting required data. Then what next one here? Here we have to get a HTTP session object. Now tell me all of you know how we are going to get a HTTP session object. Now tell me guys, all of you. How we are able to get HTTP session object? Now tell me. How it is possible to get HTTP session object? Right? How it is possible to get HTTP session object? Tell me, what's the idea now? Then here we are able to use two methods. Either of these methods here we are able to use. What are the two methods? You know, HTTP session is equal to, right, either we can use request dot directly get session method we can use, right? Either we can use get session method, or we can use what we can use there. Now tell me, or we can use get session of false also we can use. Get session of false also. Why? Because what is the reason now? Tell me guys. What is the reason here now? Two methods here we can use. What are the two methods here now? Either we can use like what now, get session method, or we can use like what now, get session of false method. Why? Because this is second servlet, means that already in the first servlet HTTP session object was created with respect to the present user. Okay, so now that means whenever we are in the second servlet, in the sense it is very confirmed that for us already HTTP session object was created with respect to this user. Okay, that we confirmed already, that we had the clarity on that particular point. So we need to get existing HTTP session object only, not required to create new HTTP session object. Here it is not required to create new HTTP session object. Already it is not required to create new HTTP session object. Already it was existed. So because of that reason, what was the point here I'm telling there? What was the point I'm telling there? Because of that reason, what is the point here I'm telling there? Because of that reason, all of you observe carefully. Because of that reason, what was the point here I'm telling there? We have to get exist HTTP session object. So here we have to use request dot get a session of false method. Right? Request dot get session of false method. That what we have to provide clearly. Okay. Guys, observe this clearly. What I'm telling here. So already HTTP session object is existed here. So whenever HTTP session object is existed, then to get that exist HTTP session object, what we have to do there? We have to get that existed session object. To get that existed HTTP session object, simply we have to use request dot get session of false method. Right? That is the case here. Good. After getting this HTTP session object, then keep that present request data also into the session object. Already in the session object, two attributes are available. As for the first request, two attributes are available. envo, ename. Already these two things are available. Now we have to keep that two new more. ESL and EADR, two. These two things here we have to provide. So for the purpose, then what I am telling there, we have to use directly dot set attribute of, here what we have to provide there, ESL. This is a string value. That key should be string always, ESL, comma. Here we have to provide like what no, ESL. Okay, good. Next, another one, session dot set attribute of EADDR. Then here string value as is here. Here we have to provide like what no, EADDR. But this also be a string type here we have to provide. So this is a key. Key is like exactly name, and value is like what no, value of the variables. That what we prepared. Okay, good. Then what next one? We are getting data from request object. We got the HTTP session object, exist HTTP session object. Then inside this exist HTTP session object, we put the data. Then after that, whenever we are putting the data, then what next one can? After that, what next one can? No? The next one is like we have to now see in the diagram here. After keeping the data in HTTP session object, forward request to the form3.html. forward request to form3.html. So the same process at each and every request processing, get the data from request object and either get the HTTP session object or create new HTTP session object if it is the first one. Then after getting HTTP session object, then what we have to do there, keep the data in HTTP session object, then forward request to next form. If no next form, no, then directly either display the data or maybe store the data into the database. Then whatever you want to do, then we can do that. Now here in this example, just I want to forward request to the form3.html. So for the purpose, then what we have to do, we have to use request to dispatcher object. We have to use like what? No, request to dispatcher. Request to dispatcher is equal to request dot get request to dispatcher of. Here we can use like what now? Here we can specify the target form3.html now. Now the target is like what? No, form3.html. Here we have to send like what now? Request to dispatcher dot forward method. Here we have to use. Now inside this forward method we have to use request and response. That's it. And automatically the request will be dispatched to form3.html. That's okay. Already we prepared this form3.html. In form3.html here, what we have provided now, we are going to submit post request and to the display is an URL pattern for the servlet. Of course, display servlet. Then here, employee email and employee mobile number. These two things are existed. Now we have to prepare like what no form. That means display servlet. Let us prepare this display servlet now. Even in the diagram also we can observe this clearly. After forwarding request to this form3.html, in form3.html we will enter the data. I will click on display button. When you click on display button, automatically request will come to like what now? Display servlet. Request will come to like what now? Display servlet. Now what is the job of this display servlet now? We are going to the same process. Get that HTTP session object, keep the data and get all the data from HTTP session object. Then what next one can display the data clearly. Right, so now let me do the same thing now. So now first of all let me prepare this display servlet here. Under the same package, write new and a servlet that we have to take. Now class name. What should be the class name here? We are going to take now. The class name would be display servlet. Display servlet, same package, display servlet, and click on next button. Now here that URL pattern here I want to provide like what now slash display and click on OK button and next button. Now here I don't require do get method, just I require only do post method. Click on finish button. Right. Now we are getting this servlet now, display servlet. Now inside this display servlet, then what we have to do? So at the rate web servlet slash display, that's okay. And then after that in do post method, what we are going to get, what we have to do. First of all, anyway, then we have to take like what try and catch. Inside this try and catch now, e dot print stack trace method. Alright. First of all, we have to get present request data. What we have to get there? Present request data here we have to get. How we are able to get this present request data now? What data is there in the present request now? Request is coming to the display servlet from form3.html. In form3.html, what we have there? E-email and e-mobile. These two things are available. Now try to get this e-email and e-mobile. That's okay, fine. Now here I'll take like what now? Try and catch as per our requirement. Then inside this, I'll provide. Already we have taken try and catch, not required once again. Directly we have to get it. Now first of all, here string e-email is equal to request dot get a parameter of. Here what I have to do there? Now e-email. Then after that, string mobile number here I want to take. String mobile. String mobile is equal to what we have to do there. Request dot get a parameter of. Directly as a string data only I want to take mobile number also. Why? Because country code hyphen something else here we are going to provide. So here just I want to provide like what a mobile number like this. So fine now. Here e-mobile that I want to provide. That's okay, fine. After getting this data, now in HTTP session object also be some data is available. Which data is available? Previous data is existed here that we know already. In HTTP session object also previous data is existed here that we know already. Then what was that previous data? That previous data if you want to get, then first we have to get HTTP session object. HTTP session is equal to, then what we have to know? Again here I am asking guys, now tell me which method I have to use there? Which method I have to use to get HTTP session object? Which method I have to use to get HTTP session object, guys? Now tell me. Please confirm to me. Which method I have to use to get HTTP session object? Any idea? Which method I have to use to get HTTP session object here? Respond to me, all of you. Which method I have to use to get HTTP session object? No response. As I given response previously, you can use either of these methods. We can use either of these methods. Which methods there? Either we can use request dot get session method. We can use here also we are able to get that exist HTTP session object. Either of these methods we can use. Okay. Or else we can use get session of false method also we can use, or else we can use get session of true also. Get session of true and get session method both are same. Okay, then get session of false method is a bit different. What is the difference now? In case of get session method, first it will check whether HTTP session object is existed or not with respect to the present user. If it is existed, return that existed HTTP session object reference. If it is not existed, in the case of get session method, new HTTP session object will be created. But if you provide get session of false method, then what will happen? First it will check whether any HTTP session object is existed or not with respect to the present user. If it is existed, then return a reference of that existed HTTP session object. If it is not existed, if that existed HTTP session object is not existed, for example, then in the case of get session of false method, container will not create a new HTTP session object. Simply container will return null value. In place of creating new HTTP session object, container will create null value. So because of that reason, we can use either of these. Now here, already now we are in the third servlet, almost all, display servlet, almost all at the end of the process now. So we can understand it, already HTTP session object is created. Already one HTTP session object is created with respect to this particular user. So we are going to get that existing HTTP session object only. We are not going to create new HTTP session object with respect to the user. Why? Because already HTTP session object is created. So we have to get that existing HTTP session object. Okay, fine. Now that we are getting. After getting that, then what I am telling there, if we want to move this total process into the next level, then we can keep this present request data and HTTP session object. But we don't want to move to the next level, just we want to display the data only. So because of that reason, trying to get that existing data from the HTTP session object and try to display that. Now I want to get the data. Then what data here we want to get there? Int envo is equal to integer dot parse int of. Now here we have to provide like what now? Session dot get the attribute of name. Here we have to provide. What was that name here? No, envo is a name. So here we are getting like what no envo name. Here we are getting cast to argument string argument. Why? Because why? No. This is not string. Then it will written in the form of object actually. So whenever it is getting in the form of object, no, then what we have to do? Cast we have to do. Not in the form of like what no parse int. Yes, exactly. Now okay, I'll show this. Don't worry. Yes, exactly. Integer. That means casting. Why? Because get attribute method will return the data in the form of object type. So that even though the data is an integer data, but it will return in the form of object type. That we have to be converted to integer object. That integer object will be typecasted to typecasting in the sense like what no wrapping to into value. That's okay, good. Then what next one here? Next one here no string ename is equal to inside the bracket here we have to use string. Then session dot get attribute of ename employee name. That's okay, fine. Then after that what next one here apart from this now, next one is float esal is equal to inside the bracket typecasting here we required float session dot get attribute of esal session dot get attribute of esal. That's okay, nice. Then after that, after completion of this, then string EADDR is equal to then session dot. Now here also here we record the typecast no string then session dot get attribute of here what we have to provide there is that what we have to prepare. That's okay, good. Only the total data here we are getting, complete data here we are getting, right? Present request data here we are getting, and a previous request data also here we are getting. So both the data here we are getting present request data and as well as previous request data, both the data here we are getting. Whenever we are getting both the data, then the data we can use in any way. In any of the manner, we can use the data as per our requirement. You want to store the data into the database, then we can connect with the database and we can store the data into the database. Or else, if we want to display the data in the sense, just we can display the data as per our requirement. Anything we can do with that particular data. And then here, what we have to do there? Now try to recognize this. If you want to display the data, I don't have any JSP as of now. So here, what I will do now, here itself throughout that println, here I want to set the data. Now here, response dot set the content type. Here I can provide like what now? Text or HTML. The data here we are providing. Next one is like what the print writer. Print writer out is equal to response dot get writer. Right. That what we are getting there clearly. So response dot get writer. That what we are getting there. Right, sir. Then after completion of this particular one, now here I need to display the data. I want to display the data in a tabular representation. So if I have JSP, no, directly I'll prepare display.jsp, then I'll forward the data to the display.jsp, then through the display.jsp I can display. But I don't know anything about JSP as of now. That's why here I want to display the data by using out.println only. So here we have to use out.println of. Here we'll provide something else like this. Now let me copy this. I'm going to use this frequently. Copy this. Now here we'll provide like what? HTML. Then after that out.println of like what next one here? Body. Then after that out.println of here what we have to do now just we want to provide like what now h1 tag the template. Now just style is equal to color colon red, then align is equal to center. That's okay, fine. Now here what we want to provide there, Durga software solutions. This is a template main header, Durga software solutions, then slash h1. That's okay, good. Then after that, after completion of this, out.println of. Now here subtitle here we want to provide h2. Now inside this here we can use style is equal to color colon blue. Then here what we have to provide there, align is equal to center again. Now here what we want to provide there, now just we want to specify like what now, employee details and a slash h2. That's okay, fine. After displaying that out.println of, now here I want to take like what table. Here we have to provide like what align is equal to center. That's okay, fine. Then out.println of, now here we have to provide like what here. Then what next one here, t. Yeah, this is like what we have to specify there. Then employee details here we have to specify. Now here, then what we have to specify the th. Now here we have to specify employee number. As is here we have to provide the employee number slash then th. Now here td data here we have to specify like what now, eno. Directly that variable is existed. Now slash td then slash here. That what we prepared. Now let me copy this. The similar thing here. Almost now 6 times here we have to use the data. Second, third, fourth, 5, 6. Okay, now let me modify this data now. In place of this employee number, I want to take like what now? Employee name, name. Okay, employee salary, sal. The data here we have to provide. Then employee address. This data, up to this data we are getting from HTTP, we got from HttpSession object. EADDR. It's okay, fine. The next data is a present request data only. Then what is the present request data? Employee email ID, email. Already we got that. Then employee mobile number, e-mobile. E-mobile, I think so. Just it is mobile. Now here I want to declare it as e-mobile. Fine. The data here we are getting. Then after that, what next one? How dot println. I need to close all of them. I have to close all of them. Then what data here we want to close it. Now simply I want to remove this table. That's fine. Then after this table, if you want to provide any again link to the first form, one more user if you want to provide there, then what we have to do now? Then here I will write like what no, not this one, out.println out.println h3 tag. Like here, what we have to provide there, align is equal to center, then anchor tag href is equal to dot slash form1.html. Okay, then here what we want to do there, one more employee. You want to add any one more employee details here. I want to write like what, no, one more employee, then slash anchor tag and slash h3. Just now here I want to specify like this is hyperlink. No, again if you want to come back and you again want to start it, no, that we can use there. Okay, after that out.println of out.println, just I want to close the remaining things. So then what we have to close there, slash h slash body first, and then after that slash html, that we want to close. Finish. Now this is about like what, no, our HTTP session tracking mechanism. The remaining part is like what, no, we have to execute this. We have to execute this. Now let me check this one. Now before moving to this one, src main web app, then webinf lib web.xml file is not created. That's fine. Right, that's okay, good. Not required also. Now here we want to execute this particular one. What we want to execute there, now form1.html that I want to execute. Form1.html I want to execute. Now let me execute it. Click on this one, form1.html. Tomcat server. I think so. Stop it. I don't require this one here. Remove session one. Click on finish button. Okay. Right, yes, 1 minute. Wait. Right, Tomcat 9 is available in my system, so I am using the Tomcat 9. Here I need to use the form1.html here anyway. Form1.html that I have used. Just now right after this clearly. This is form1.html here we are getting. Here we are getting like what now? Form1.html, that what we are getting. In form1.html here we have to provide employee number and employee name. The data here we provided employee number and employee name. So in employee number here I want to enter like 111 and employee name would be like what now? Something else. Yeah, I want to enter. Click on next button. Then here, then what we are getting there, Durga Software Solutions, employee details now, employee salary and employee address now. Salary would be something else like what, 5,000. Address would be like what, Hyderabad, the data here we are providing. Click on next button. Now here, and the third form here we are getting there, third form. What is this third form here now? Employee email ID and employee mobile number. Now let me provide this email ID also, aaa@dss.com. Then mobile number something else like what now, 91 iPhone, something else like this here we provided clearly. Now click on display button. If you click on display button, the total data has to be displayed. But unfortunately, here we are getting some problem here. Class cast exception. Java.lang.float cannot be cast to Java.lang.string. Where is the problem here? Display servlet at line number 30. Click on it. Now here it's ADDR actually. Address now is here we provided. There is a problem here. So here what we have to provide the ADDR. Yeah, nice. Now this is a problem. Okay, fine, no issues. Now let me restart this application or just refresh it. Retry. Reloading. Just now it is reloaded here. Once it is reloaded, then we can refresh it. Now here we are getting the data. Still small changes are required here in display servlet. Then what we have to do now? Then a table border. I want to take now. Border is equal to 1. Okay, fine. Self task here I want to plot. Now let it reload. Once it is reloaded, then we'll refresh it once again. Now here we are able to get the data. Now reloading is completed. Now just if you open it and if you refresh it, now here we are able to get the data. Now Durga Software Solutions, employee details, employee number 111, employee name AAA, employee salary 5,000 and employee address Hyderabad, employee email ID AAA@dss.com, employee mobile number 91 some data here we are getting there. Then after that, after completion of this, and click on like what now, one more employee link, hyperlink here we provided here, one more employee hyperlink here we provided. Okay, now try to observe this clearly. Whenever we are providing hyperlink, now here we can click on, like what I am telling there in the case of this hyperlink. Now if we click on this, if we click on hyperlink, then what next one here apart from this? Now here we can observe this clearly. If we click on this, when we click on this, then here we are able to get like what, one more employee. Now here if we click on this one more employee, then we are able to get once again the data. Now this time here I want to provide like what data here, we want to provide here. You can observe this clearly. Here I want to provide something else 222. Now employee name would be like what, no, BBB, and click on next button. Now here we are getting salary like what, no, 6,000. Then our address would be like what, no, Chennai for example. Then click on next button. Then employee email ID. Then what we have to provide there regarding this employee email ID. If you observe this now, in employee email ID, if you understand that, something else like what we are able to get now, employee email ID, bbb@gmail.com. Just we can use that mobile number here we can provide something else and click on display button. Now we are getting all the data like this. Again here you can click on this one more employee and we can provide the data, whatever the data here we are trying to provide. Now just we can provide the data clearly, right guys? Now this is what exactly the content here we are getting clearly. This is about like what I'm telling to you. This is like what I'm telling to you exactly, the content what we provided clearly, the details here we are getting clearly, right guys? Then all of you are getting clarity on this point now. Then about this session tracking mechanism, are you getting this point now? Right guys. Yes, one more point here I want to specify to you, right? And all the points can be understood there clearly. How to create a session object and how to keep data inside the session object, how to get data session object, how to get session and all the details here we are getting. Now I want to provide one more data. How to close the session object. How it is possible to disable the session object. How to close the session object. The data here I want to get. How it is possible to close this session object. Tell me guys, how it is possible to close this session object actually? How it is possible to close this session object? Right. To close a session object, to close HTTP session object, we have to use the following two methods. What are the two methods now? The first one is public void invalidate method. What is this method now? Public void invalidate method. Public void invalidate method. This method can be used to destroy or close the session object right away and immediately. This method will close the HTTP session object. Observe carefully what I am telling to you now. Okay, right. This method will close HTTP session object immediately, right away. Okay, good. Understand this point clearly. Alright, so that's okay, good. Then what next one? Then after that, after completion of this, after understanding this particular one, I'll give the comment also. This method will close HTTP session object immediately. Good. Then the second method is like what? No. Right, sir. Public void set max interval. What's that method get? Public void set max interval. No. Public void. Public void. What is that method name there? Inactive. I think some method is available. Come on guys, then what is that method actually? set max interval. One more. I think so. One method is available. What is that method? I'll show that method. Don't worry for that. I think so. I think so. Set max inactive interval. Set max inactive interval. Set max inactive interval. Set max inactive interval. Then here we have to specify long time period. Long time period that we have to provide there. That method here we have to provide set max inactive interval. I think so. Right, right. I think so. That method name would be like what? Set max inactive interval. Right. Set max inactive interval method will be provided. If you provide that set max inactive interval method, automatically that inactive time here we are able to specify. Invalidate method right away it able to destroy that HTTP session object, but set max inactive interval method, yes, I think so. The same method. I'll correct it maximum if it is invalid, no, but max, this is a method here we can use that. Set max inactive interval method. That's okay, fine. Now what we are able to get here with this particular method here, no, right. Now here I think so. This is integer value. I think so. Maybe integer. Then it will destroy HTTP session object after the specified ideal time. After the specified ideal time. That's it. In these two ways, here we are able to close this HTTP session object. Right, guys, understand this point clearly? HTTP session tracking mechanism. Have you understood this point here clearly? There are the two methods here. Invalidate method here we can use, and set max inactive interval method we can use then to destroy this HTTP session object. But in the application, in general, what we have to do, just a sample example here I shown there, but in general, what it's going to be happen now, for every website, for every user, for every website, like what is going to be available, login and logout is existed. Am I right or not? Login and logout. Guys, please understand it now. Then two things are existed here, login and logout. Two things are existed. Right. In the case of login, what we are doing there actually, in the case of logout, what we are doing now. In the case of login, session will be created. Okay. When that user is logged out, then session will be destroyed. So in the case of login, session will be created. In the case of logout, session will be destroyed. For every website, these two things are existed here. For every website, these two things are existed here. What two things are existed here? One is like what? No, login. Another one is like what? No, logout. Okay, understand this clearly. Login and logout, two things are existed here. So here, what I am telling there, login in the case of this login, automatically in the case of login, automatically session will be created. Session will be created. In the case of this logout, session will be destroyed. Session will be destroyed. That's it. That is what we are able to get clearly. Right, guys? All of you are getting the point here, no? All of you are getting clarity on this. Right. Clear. Now this is the total session tracking mechanism. Now I'm asking one more question to all of you guys. Now tell me, what exactly the drawback with this HTTP session tracking mechanism? What is the drawback? What's the main drawback with this HTTP session tracking mechanism? Can you tell me? What is the drawback with HTTP session tracking mechanism? Yes, it is appeared clearly. You can understand it clearly. What was the drawback here? No? The drawback is if client browser disables cookies, then HTTP session tracking mechanism will not work. If client browser disables cookies, then HTTP session tracking mechanism will not work. Why? Because here we can observe this clearly in the diagram. Right, observe carefully in this diagram. An HTTP session object is created. Session ID cookie will be created. The session ID cookie will be transferred to the respective client along with response. When we submit next request from the same client, no, automatically the session ID cookie will come along with request. On the basis of this session ID only, the container will decide whether HTTP session object is existed or not existed. Right, whether this HTTP session object is existed or not existed, that is decided on the basis of the cookie, on the basis of the session ID cookie. If it is available, the session ID cookie is available, it was an indication for us HTTP session object is existed. If session ID cookie is not existed, yeah, then it was an indication for us HTTP session object is not existed. So container has to create new HTTP session object. On the basis of that only, we are going to use either get session method or get session of false method. Okay. So in this scenario, if client browser disables cookies now, then there is no transformation of the session ID cookie between client and server. When session ID cookie is not coming from client to the server, always container is thinking about it. No HTTP session object always, and it's trying to create new HTTP session object. So always it is creating new HTTP session object in the sense every time in the new HTTP session object, only present request data is existed here, but it is not going to be have previous request data. That is the problem why. That is the reason why. That is the reason why we are unable to manage this HTTP session tracking mechanism when client browsers disables the cookies. When client browsers disables the cookies, then we are unable to run this particular HTTP session tracking mechanism. That's the point here we have to understand clearly. Nice guys. That's okay. Then what next one is after that, after completion of this particular one? Another thing is what I am telling to you apart from this. The next mechanism here we are going to discuss there, cookie session tracking mechanism. Another point I am telling there. What is the alternative mechanism for HTTP session tracking mechanism? URL rewriting session tracking mechanism. Alternative. Cookie session tracking mechanism is not the alternative mechanism. Right, URL rewriting session tracking mechanism is an alternative mechanism. But before moving to the URL rewriting session tracking mechanism, I want to discuss about cookie session tracking mechanism also. Cookie session tracking mechanism is also one of the mechanism that will also be here we are going to understand. Okay. So then anyway, then time may not be sufficient even to introduce this cookie session tracking mechanism. So I'll discuss this cookie session tracking mechanism on tomorrow. And tomorrow at the same time, I'll discuss about this cookie session tracking mechanism. Okay. Thank you guys. Thanks a lot. We'll meet on tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll see the remaining content. Okay. Fine. Thank you. Thanks a lot.